Hey guys, my name is Matsumoto, and welcome to our episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question today comes from Yuri, and it is, what do you think about the new Glaz? Because in my opinion, Ubisoft has nerfed him a lot. Maybe they should increase his weapon damage as it was, just to balance him properly. I am not entirely sure what Ubisoft is going to be able to do about Glaz. He's one of those operators where I feel like they're having a hard time finding that sweet spot balance-wise because he has gone through, I think, more changes than any other character ever introduced into Rainbow Six Siege. When the game first came out, I don't know if you guys remember this, but he had a red filter on his scope. It made it really difficult to actually see what was going on in front of you. They obviously removed that later on, and then I believe they not only reduced the recoil, so it was easier to get consecutive shots off, they also increased his RPM so you could get more shots off consistently and quicker, and I think they may have slightly increased his damage. The result of this is that if you were really aggressive with him, you could essentially one-shot everyone you came across, and you didn't even need to get a headshot. One to the chest would down the player. It was incredibly powerful in the right hands. The thing is, though, is even back then, apparently, he didn't really have a very high pick rate. He was still considered one of the weaker operators in the game, maybe because people didn't understand the power of that one-shot potential back then. I'm not entirely certain, but they reduced the damage and then gave him access to what everyone knows today, which is the Iron V-scope, allowing him to see through smoke. Now, obviously, he doesn't have that one-shot potential anymore up close, but it doesn't matter because the enemy can't actually see him when he has his smoke screen down. He became someone that's not really meant for long-range support, like you would assume someone like this would be designed for. He became someone that was very aggressive and using those smoke screens to push the objective with his team. Ubisoft, once again, wasn't really too thrilled with this, and now we are today where if he wants to take advantage of his gadget, he has to stand still, which has made him very limiting for a lot of playstyles. And so if you look from where he was at the beginning to where we are today and everything in between, he's basically seen every kind of buff and rework imaginable that you could give an operator like this. The only other thing I can think of that they could maybe try is allowing him to one-shot people or do significantly more damage the further away they are from him. Ubisoft has made it clear that they don't want him to be an aggressive operator. They want him at a distance, and so reward those players who are staying at a distance with some increased damage. The thing about that, though, is that that doesn't sound great for everyone who's on the receiving end. Yeah, he can't be aggressive and take advantage of that damage, but if I'm now getting one-shotted by a Glaz, body-shotted at long range, that doesn't sound all that enjoyable either. Like, that seems like it'd be too powerful as well. And so honestly, I really don't know what else Ubisoft can do to try to find that sweet spot balance-wise. Maybe he's just gonna have to be one of those characters that is niche and people only play him in select situations. Maybe he's gonna, and this is something that Ubisoft may have to consider long-term, not every operator is going to have a high pick rate. It's just not gonna happen. And so maybe Glaz is just gonna have to be one of those that is only selected for certain maps for certain objectives, and that's just gonna have to be good enough. As soon as you start to change him some other way, it's either going to be lackluster or blatantly overpowered, and I just don't know what else they can do. And so let me know what you guys think about Glaz. Do you think that he's in a good place right now? How would you like to see him change? If you think that he needs some improvements, let me know what you guys think down below. The next question comes from Sebastian, and it is, I've had plenty of times when I join an ongoing casual match, the preparation phase just begun a second prior to me joining, and then I have to watch the drones and see the team play the round. What about the ability to join that round with a random operator? You won't be able to drone in the preparation phase, but when the action phase starts, you can play. What are your thoughts on this? I think that this is a fantastic idea and honestly should probably extend on over into ranked. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in a 4v5 situation in a competitive game and then my teammate reconnects and it's the start of the preparation phase. They just didn't have enough time to get back into the match, either because they disconnected because their internet went out, Rainbow Six Siege just aired, you guys know how this game can be quite finicky, their power went out, whatever the reason, they're back into the game. But because because they weren't just in time when the preparation phase started, we have to be 4v5 again, and that of course puts you at a massive disadvantage. If they were able to have a random operator, even though we would still be at a disadvantage, at least they're in the match. It's still more of an even playing field than a 4v5. I think that would be a massive improvement. And so while there might be some sort of limitation with the engine or the way they designed the game, maybe they can't spawn in a new operator that isn't spawned at the start. I'm not entirely certain, but I'm sure they could find some sort of workaround. The only thing I can think of for why they might be hesitant to implement something like this, at least for casual, and I will admit I'm kind of grasping at straws here, is that this might incentivize more people to leave a casual match mid-game, knowing that if they join into a new one really quickly, that if they get into the preparation phase, they can get right back into the action. They don't have to wait around anymore. And so this might create a cycle where more people are just leaving and joining after they get taken out, so they can just get back in the action quicker than just staying in that match. I don't know if that is a worry that they have, but that could be one of the reasons why. And so all in all, I think that this is an amazing idea. Getting your players to actually play the game as soon as possible and not having them wait around, I can't see that really being a bad thing, especially for ranked. Making that 4v5 into a 5v5, I think would be a massive step in the right direction. And so I am right there with you. The next question is, I've been sitting in matchmaking for over 10 minutes just to play a newcomer match on a Saturday. If this is any indication of how my Rainbow Six experience is going to be, it's a horrible sign. Well, since I don't know what platform or region that you're playing in, which I think could be two contributing factors for why you're experiencing these long queue times, I don't think that this is a good or fair representation of what your overall experience is going to be in Rainbow Six Siege. You have to remember that you're joining the newcomer playlist. Obviously, this is for new people. And while the game is growing every single day, more people are joining, especially at the start of a season. They get a big influx. At the end of the day, you only have so many people that can even queue into this playlist. People that I think rank 1 to 50. As soon as you get past that, you're no longer eligible. The actual pool of players is smaller. The smaller the pool of players, the longer those queue times are going to be. This was one of my biggest worries when they first introduced it. In theory, it sounds great. Giving new players a taste of ranked is always good, kind of introducing or easing them into what Rainbow Six Siege is all about. But if these queue times are already getting this bad, I can only imagine it's going to be getting worse for that specific playlist. More people get bored of these 10-minute queue times, they're just going to switch on over to casual because they know they can just get into a game. No one wants to wait 10-20 minutes to find a match. They're just going to want to get in and get out. And so as soon as more people leave the newcomer playlist, and only that one specifically, that is going to shrink the player base in that mode, and that's just going to exacerbate the problem. That's going to increase those queue times, and so it's just going to get worse and worse. Honestly, this is one of the reasons why I'm hoping that Ubisoft is working with Microsoft and Sony to try to get cross-platform into Rainbow Six Siege. Increasing the amount of people that you can play with would be a huge boon for everyone, not just for the newcomer playlist, but also for casual and for that ranked experience. And so, long story short, no, I don't think that this is a good representation of what you can expect from this game. Once again, I don't know what platform or region that you're in that can play a part, but I really just think it is for that mode specifically, and I would try the other ones and see how that fares. The next question is, will there in the next season or just in the future of Rainbow Six come a new hard breacher? Because now where we have the pick and ban, it is easy to ban both of the hard breachers. I would not be surprised whatsoever if eventually we did get another hard breacher added into the game. Especially considering Ubisoft wants to get to that 100 operator mark, it feels like it's almost inevitable at this point. Especially if this game follows how other competitive games work, like Dota and League of Legends. The more characters that they add, they usually need to eventually allow more players to be banned during the pick and ban phase. And while it's gonna take a while before they probably allow us to ban more during the preparation phase, I'm sure it will happen as time goes on in a few years from now. And if you can take out Maverick, Thermite, and Hibana, there needs to be some way to get through these walls, and so I can only guess that they're eventually going to add someone else. Now, the real question is, though, is how do they introduce a new gadget that is different from all of the other hard breachers that we have in the game? One idea that I've heard bounced around is that they would be able to freeze the actual reinforcements reinforcement and make it brittle. You would then have someone use a sledge or a breaching charge to break said wall, and then they can push on into the objective. The only downside of that, though, is that how in the world does the defensive team counter something like that? Maybe Bandit would be able to stop. I really don't know. Like, there needs to be a counter. I know we're looking at Maverick. Maverick doesn't have a counter, but I don't think that that is something that they should follow. I don't think that he should be the norm. There needs to be some sort of counterplay there, but if they're able just to simply bypass all of their gadgets by freezing the wall and then just open it up with a sledge, that might be too strong. Maybe they add in someone who is able to melt the sides of the walls that allows them to get on through. Like, I'm not entirely certain. And so let me know what you guys think on this topic. How do you think Ubisoft could introduce a new character along these lines? How would they balance it out? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can always leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.